Hi, like to call the meeting to order. Guess we'll start with roll call.
Members Anderson,
Present.
Bachman,
Here.
Cicero,
Here.
Chair Howard, absent. Members Ryder,
Present.
Schneider,
Here.
Wanner.
Here.
Okay, the first item on the agenda is the approval of the June 19th, 2024 meeting minutes. Everybody have a chance to review those?
Move approval.
Second.
Passes. Great. Okay, next item on the,
Got to vote.
oh, I'm sorry.
All in favor?
All in favor? Aye.
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 All opposed? Passes.
There we go.
Okay. The next item is the petition of Wendy Fritz and Peter Gartman at 613 Galahad Road North to vacate portion of Park Avenue North. Continued review and possible recommendation.
We have our whole packet. Oh, sorry.
Oh. Point of order, Mr. Chair. We tabled this motion, so it's tabled. So I'd like to move to have the motion that was presented to the body last week removed from the table for discussion.
Yep, that's fine.
That's the parliamentary procedure,
Okay.
because we tabled it, and
Yeah.
it sits there
I'll second
until
that.
someone moves it.
Okay.
Okay.
Apologize, I didn't know any better.
Yeah.
Okay. We have to vote on that, or?
We do.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion passes. Okay.
All right, so we were going to introduce ourselves first, but I think Chuck and Frankie submitted something, so I don't know if they want to cover that first. I didn't see it actually on the agenda, but just wanted to be clear how you guys wanted to go through it.
It's not, I don't have anything on the agenda for that.
That's why we wanted to clarify.
I think it was going to be some comments they were going to make.
Okay, all right, then we'll
on
start.
your presentation.
Okay. So just to introduce ourselves, you met Peter Gartman. He was here last time. I unfortunately was traveling for work, so I was on speakerphone. But I'm Wendy Fritz, and we wanted to just walk through our petition for the vacation of Park Avenue. Our agenda's up here. We heard last time, keep it to the facts and make it simple. So we've got slides that show kind of all the pictures, and then we can have discussion as we go, or we can have discussion at the end, whatever makes the most sense. But hopefully this can be fairly brief. So we're gonna first show you a neighborhood map, then walk through what the request looks like with the petition, with the signatures that we have from the rest of the neighborhood. We have 2 exhibits, and then we'll walk through the, again, a map of the neighborhood and the majority of the signatures, which represents like 72.5% of the frontage. We have some photos of the area. I don't know if any of you have had a chance to drive down there, but it is marked with some pink stakes now, I think different than last time. Yep. And then we have a concept of the desired outcome that we have, and precedents of street vacations in the neighborhood from the past. And then, we'll just kind of summarize where we're at, and then, like I said, discussion. So any questions on that?
What are maybe you're gonna cover it, what are the stakes and flags for?
So we just staked out where the actual Park Avenue sits today so that you could see it, and we have some pictures in here of it as well.
So there's a backhoe in the middle of it, too.
Oh, no, that's actually our private property, but the stakes are
That's-
in the middle of the woods.
Yeah, that was some of the confusion we had.
That was some confusion, I think, before.
And I think we should be able to clear that up, I hope.
Okay, thank
Yeah.
you.
Okay, any other questions? Pete's gonna cover the majority of it, and then I'll chime in as needed. Okay.
Right here, we show the neighborhood map. The ones in white are the ones that have signed the petition. There's a couple of them here, Johnny Green and Ryan Bruner, are on the opposite side, on the east side of Galahad, but the rest of them are all on Park Avenue itself. So that's the neighborhood map. The log cabin, which is this piece right here, Log Cabin LTD, is owned by Marty Furlong, and I've had discussions with him, but owns that with 5 sisters, and he says he can't get them all together at one time to sign the petition, so he is neutral at this point. Frankie is in opposition, and Cullen is also in opposition. But as you see, the red ones are in opposition. White has signed, and this is neutral. So that's where we're at right now.
And in the green is
Oh,
the
this is
property that
this is
we're
the area that
talking
we're
about.
looking to vacate, discontinue, Park Avenue. Is there anybody questions right now? I just want to make sure everybody understands where we're at with the neighborhood and how this here is all Park Avenue right here. All right? Next slide. All right, this is the request for petition. We have, Colin and them have rescinded their signatures. They did sign it at first, and so they rescinded their signatures. And then we have everybody else that was shown on there, going all the way down to, we have new ones that we just added this week, Larson and Witt, and they were on the past one. We'll show them later on too. So that is the petition that's been signed by all the people. And then we have Exhibit A, which is part of the petition, which is the legal description of what we want to vacate. We have, it's basically 100 feet by 50 feet. It's in between our two properties that we own. And that's where we're at right now. And next. And this is an Exhibit B, which is the portion of which we're going to vacate. This is us, and we're here. This is Frankie, and this is the log cabin. This is, I can't remember, but this right here is Browns Beach Road, which is 3rd Avenue. So does anybody have questions on this, what we're trying to vacate?
The request, okay?
Anybody got any questions?
So your total property would be,
We own this piece,
Yeah.
and we own this piece.
perfect, okay.
So we're just going to vacate what's in between ours.
Okay.
All right. This is a neighborhood view and signed petitioners. And right now, with all the signed petitioners, we have 72.5% of the frontage. Required by state law, we have to have 30%. Is that right, Paul?
Yeah.
30%, right?
If you have
Yeah.
72, you're okay that way. And I think for the purposes of tonight, let's just assume you have enough.
All right. So
And then
right now,
we'll verify.
Scott Snyder, which we didn't not even include in the calculations, he sits right here. So he's actually kind of on Park Avenue. Here's a log cabin again, which is not, is neutral. And then again, we have us, Wendy, and then me and Wendy. And then we have Julie and Matt Ridgway, Michelle Dresnick, Larry and Rochelle Mitchell. We have Jim Olaseski, and then David Larson and Brenda Witt. Those
Just
are,
to-
go ahead, honey.
Oh, no, it's to say, sorry, just a couple clarifications, because I think there was some question about which ones are trusts and which ones are actual, individual owners, so we highlighted on here.
Right.
So you can see Michelle Drevnick has a 617 Galahad LLC, she's a signing member, I think she
Right
clarified that
here.
at the last meeting. And then, Jim Olszewski is Upper Ghost Lake Limited, he's the owner. And then myself is Wendy L. Fritz Revocable Trust, I'm the only person on that trust, so we just wanted to clarify, and I don't know if there's any questions from the attorney on that, but that's based on looking at the land records, that is who owns and who's part of that individual trust or
Right.
LLC.
We asked the owners if they were the signing members of these, and they all said yes. So, does anybody have any questions or?
And again, I don't think we're going to argue about ownership tonight.
Okay.
Let's just look at your concept.
Yep,
And
Yep.
okay, just wanted to make sure we were clear, because that was a question we got from Gina as a follow-up.
Right. This is, we're standing on 3rd Street, which is Browns Beach Road, looking towards Galahad. And if you can see right here, there's some ribbons hanging here. That would be the eastern side of Park Avenue. And we're looking straight at it, and I guess that's the eastern side again, kind of straight down the middle of it right now.
Yep.
And this is the western side of it. As you can see, it's all really heavily wooded. And one more. And this is our house, and this is the backhoe and stuff is back in over here. So,
Which is
does that
on
give
our
everybody
property.
perspective where we're at? Anybody got questions on that? All right. So now this is sitting on Park Avenue, which is Frankie's driveway looking north. So we're looking north on the opposite side, and here is basically the area that we would be vacating. Does anybody have any questions? Okay, one thing, and this is our concept, what we want to do when we're said and done. We own, here's the red house. This is our house. We were standing here when we took the pictures, looking this way, one here, and then one back this way. Basically, what we want to do is vacate this and then incorporate it all into our piece of property as one piece of property. And then we're looking at selling off the red house. That's our main objective. The reason why we purchased this property, the red house, was to gain this piece and to make this all one piece so we would have the privacy like everybody else. Right here is the precedence that's been set previously by the village board. This is the plat that we are in. This is 3rd Street. This is Park Avenue. We own these 2 lots and basically this area here. This First Avenue has been vacated. This part of, it's called Lake, but it's Park. And then this part is 2nd, and all of 4th Street has been vacated. This is Browns Beach Road. So they already set a precedence in vacating portions of these that were not used, and they were be able to become part of the tax base and part of the whole piece of property for the neighboring properties.
Could you highlight the area that you're requesting
Yep.
be vacated?
Right here,
That little square or rectangle.
right there.
Thank you.
The log cabin and Frankie's driveway comes in here. In turn, Frankie's comes here, log cabin comes in here.
Okay?
Yep. And again, this is the petition that we had signed. An overwhelming amount of the neighbors, we're talking the majority, I mean, everybody's in favor of this, except for a couple people. They all want it vacated, and it's not just us bringing this petition. I feel it's the neighborhood's bringing this petition. And to deny the neighborhood, I don't think that would be appropriate. Anything to say, honey?
I would just say, again, this is our request. I think our ask of this board is to make a decision so that we can all move forward. And again, this property then goes into the tax base for the village, which is
Right.
a good thing, which has been done before. So that's our request. I don't know if you guys have other questions. We're happy to answer them.
So, we got this in our packet.
Yeah,
Yep.
we can address that.
So what I don't understand is, it's showing 2, what are these supposed to be?
Yeah, this
Well,
is,
hang on
this
a minute.
actually, Chuck, this is not our document. Chuck and Frankie submitted this, but we did include it in here just so you could, again, it was part of the conversation. I think they
Right.
can speak to why they submitted it, but I think what they're showing there is that there's a potential that there could be other homes
Right.
built there, which again, we've said is not our intent, right? Our intent is to preserve our area, but.
So who created this?
I think someone for Chuck and Frankie.
What is it? Is it the one up on the,
No.
Yeah.
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 I did both of those.
Yeah.
The setbacks as they are
Um,
and what they will be? Is that what that one is?
Yeah.
Yeah, I did that one and I did that one.
What we'd like to show us here is that, what I'd like to show us, this is a positive for the village. To create 2 tax bases, probably $23,000 in tax base if these ever were built. No infrastructure costs whatsoever, no additional maintenance costs. This is a win-win if this ever did happen. This is the best thing that could happen to the village, is to do some infill. I mean, I'm not saying this is our intent, but I'm just saying is what's wrong with this? What would be wrong with this? I'm just asking, anybody I'm just wondering what would wrong with this?
So for clarification, we're not approving Lot A and B
Right,
being.
exactly.
No, there's no.
But this is part of your
request.
package.
They're
This
just
is- we're-
suggesting
we're-
this might be an option in the future.
In the
Yeah,
future,
there's no
correct.
request on
Yes.
our behalf.
We didn't even
for
bring
that.
this forward.
Our request is to vacate. We just wanted to make sure that, because it wasn't on the agenda, we didn't want it to come in as a surprise. So, I don't know if there's any other discussion on it, but that's our point of view.
Right.
So when you got done with this, you would make all that one big lot
Yeah.
If we go
from the
back
river
to,
all the
There?
way,
Vacated land have.
Just follow my pointer?
Those two.
There?
you'd make all that one
but
big.
One
sell
lot.
the red house. at
Sell the
some
red
point.
house off.
Yep,
Yeah.
You only want the back half of the red house.
Correct.
correct.
We want the woods.
Yep.
We want the privacy.
Yep.
I mean, I guess one thing, has anybody done this Exhibit A and B in the past with vacated streets?
You mean this here?
No, he's saying Exhibit A and B,
Like,
not
or
Lot
like
B.
Lot A and Lot B?
A lot A
oh.
and, I have no clue.
I don't know.
It can be done. If
I mean,
if this
'cause it
was
seems
vacated,
like
it could be done, yes.
There's a lot of existing vacated roads.
Not in that area. Nobody's done it.
Yeah,
Everyone wants their privacy.
yeah.
Not to say it couldn't be done.
Yeah, right, because they own it.
I'm just trying to figure out why this request is more difficult than these other vacated areas.
We're not sure either.
I don't know either.
Yeah.
Well, I think one thing that adds some complexity to this is that Brown Beach situation. I think that adds complexity to it, because I drive over there a lot on my bike, and you see lots of cars parked on that street on a regular basis.
Yeah, they are, it's allowed to
It's on
be,
the other side.
yep,
Yep,
it's allowed to be parked right here.
yep,
Yeah,
which is not gonna change.
Right. And we're in favor of Browns Beach. We like Browns Beach. We're actually really in favor of the improvements.
Right,
yeah, 250 grand.
right, the village is spending a lot of money to make improvements there, which is great. It's great for Hudson.
Only great if they find parking.
If they what?
Find parking.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because
that's the
people
difficult-
with families can't walk 2 blocks
Yeah.
and down.
Yeah.
So that's
The problem with Browns Beach is it's 50 feet wide.
I know. I spend a lot of time there with my
Yeah.
kids.
Yeah.
Good.
Not
Yeah.
I'm
anymore.
glad. Swing by.
So as far as the dedication or that roadway, can that only be used for a roadway in the future? Or could it potentially be part of expanded parking for Browns Beach and have a drive lane and dive-in stalls and be able to back a vehicle out of there to utilize for the beach someday?
Well, I guess, you can park on a public street.
Yeah.
And if that's turned into a public street, then parking could be allowed in terms of engineering it. I'm not an engineer, but.
But I'm
that's-
saying, would the whole street have to be constructed, or could they take an area off of Third and go back 100 feet and do dive-ins and utilize parking there to supplement the lack of parking on Third Street for visitors?
Yeah, I think there's not much parking on Third Street, but there's plenty of parking on Galahad, right? Then that's not blocks and blocks away. I think we would be concerned with having a parking lot in the middle of all of our property, but.
I don't believe the intent of dedicating a road is for parking.
Yeah,
That would be it might be an uphill battle for everybody, but I would challenge that one for sure.
I think you get a lot of opposition from the entire
If you,
neighborhood, but.
if you built the through street and then parking, I believe it would be fine, but if you're just gonna create a parking lot in that 50 feet, I don't know if that would constitute the intent of the
street.
dedication of the street.
So tonight, this board just recommends. You don't make the final decision.
Right.
And in terms of, there's no set standard on these road vacations. You need to look at whether this makes sense for the village. Is it in the best interest of the village, not for now, but long-term? And if you decide that that's reasonable, then, you can recommend to the full board approval. You can recommend not to do it. You can send it off with no recommendation. And the board doesn't have to agree with what you say. So,
I would just like to reiterate the amount of neighborhood people that overwhelmingly have supported the vacation of this. I think that's something you should really take in consideration, what the neighborhood wants.
May I say something? I'm just
You have to go
wondering-
up there and talk.
Are we
You
done?
have to go up there and talk.
Do we have
Are we
to
done now?
open it to a closed session or
I
open
just
it?
have a quick question.
Yeah.
I'm wondering really how that affects all these neighbors that aren't near the roadway. So I'm not sure how that affects them in a positive way, all the people you got to sign your petition.
Oh, Vexel?
Well, I mean, how the roadway, the frontage road affects them. How is it their concern? I mean, what if they said?
I would say it's their concern, but part of the legality is that you have to have a majority of adjacent owners, and that's what we've done,
Yeah,
and they
so
are
we've
saying
done.
we support it.
We fulfilled the obligation
Part
of the
of the
state statute
legal-
to petition.
Okay. Thank you.
I thought adjacent meant you have to be sort of close.
So you can,
You have
Yep,
to,
you
you
have
have
to-
to go up and talk. You have to go up there. Otherwise, the TV guy can't.
you know, and then,
You guys could step aside so he can talk.
Interested in this in the last meeting, so you can see extra copies. Just have a nice aerial
Thank you.
that shows everything.
Nice and big, I can see this.
Hi, I'm Charles Scott. I'm representing Frankie. The first graphic, I wish I'd done it like Pete had done it, a little smarter, than on the computer. But this is the one that was up there for a while. It just shows the red house on Galahad. It shows the new lot line here. And I think this was going to be, Frankie, originally, they were going to include Frankie with that, but she didn't want to join them. So, but what this does, unless they get the vacation, they're creating a remnant lot. It does not comply with the ordinance. It's 61 feet, okay? If they get the vacation, then they not only, right now, 3rd Avenue and Park Avenue, this is a corner lot. So I have a 30-foot side yard setback here, right now. If they're successful and get the vacation, they not only pick up the 25 feet as the underlying owners, but they pick up an additional 20 feet. They're relieved, they can go to 10 feet on the side yard. So it's a 45-foot difference. So at that point, if they pick up 25 out of the vacation and they own both sides, they'll be at, they need to add nominally 29 feet in order to get a compliant lot. They need to get to 90 feet here. So, but if they own both sides, they can just deed nominally 4 feet back, and then they will have a 90-foot lot here. Last year, when we were talking out in the yard, and they said, well, they were going to do a minor subdivision, and they were going to lop this lot off here. They were going to create another lot. And I said, well, what would you do that for? And they said, well, it's because it's a lot of value. I said, well, it's only money, right? And so that was their intent before they acquired the red house, was to do a minor subdivision and create a new lot here. But it ran into problems, I believe, and Pete could comment on that if you would like. There's a sewer easement that goes to Frankie's house that made that unfeasible unless they pick up half of the vacated street. And the setback goes from 30 to 10. So, in effect, I just didn't want, I know that we're talking about how joyful all the neighbors are to get this done, but I just didn't want Pete and I to be the only two people that knew what could actually be done here. And so that's why I made these graphics up. And I'm not saying it's their intent, okay? I'm really not. If there's some sort of covenant that we can write, look at that, I would be happy to. But what you have to understand is the day after the vacation is recorded, they can come back with this. And there's nothing you can do about it. Because both of these lots comply with the underlying ordinance.
Just a second. Can I ask you a question? So if that gets vacated and it becomes one big lot, from the back of the red house to the water. Okay? They would then have to go back to the village to get that broken back up again to create those other 2 lots, correct?
Right.
Yeah, they're gonna create new
There's-
lots.
You don't have anything to say about it. It's an automatic approval. No, you can't. I run it by the city engineer. They comply. You have no basis
That's not what I
for,
asked, though. That's not my question.
Okay.
My question is, do they have to go back to the village,
Sure.
to get those broken into 3 lots instead of 1 big lot?
Yep.
right.
So in theory, the village board could say no
No.
to those?
No, that's what I'm trying to point out, is you would have no basis for denial. The day after the vacation is recorded, they can come in, and again, I take them at their word, okay? I don't think that is their intent, I really don't. But, I mean,
Could?
their intent, we talked about preserving trees and all of that, but, you know, if you drive down there, almost all the trees up to the right-of-way of the street have been already removed. You know, we've got industrial tractors in there, trailers, all sorts of stuff. But, you know, their intentions could be to keep that forever, but, you know, people die, people's circumstances change, people get divorced. There's no covenant. The next day, I'm just telling you, the next day after the vacation is recorded, they can apply under a minor subdivision and get those 2 things approved. And there's nothing you can do about it. And I don't think any of these people that signed that petition know that the potential, there's no other place on Galahad Road where that's even close to being the condition. Here's Galahad Road, and you have 1, 2, 3, 4 houses and a quadruple garage. There's no place on, most of the places on Galahad have 1 house from Galahad to the river, right? Here, this would be a unique situation, you'd have 4. We're not in favor of it. Our hearts sunk when they told us they were gonna do this last year, but I figure Pete's a surveyor, he knows. I kind of assumed they could do it, but, you know, we want to try and be good neighbors, so we just set it aside. But it's for us, it's like an assault to have that house built right here. And it's a very shallow lot. And I just want the people that signed the petition, I want you guys to know that when you approve the vacation, you are giving tacit approval to this, and there's nothing you can do to stop it. And Park Avenue has unresolved issues for us that we would like to take more time to explore, ultimately, see if there's a better solution. But I guess I'm kind of sick the whole thing came up. I really am. I don't like it. But I've been developing for 40 years. Neighbors come to my meetings all the time. I guess I'm the neighbor. I don't know I've ever been the neighbor before. We're the neighbors, and we're not for it. And I don't think that anybody that signed the petition knew that this is what they were signing up potentially for. Not that they're going to do it, but potentially they can. If circumstances change, there's nothing to prevent them. Okay, so that was it.
There's a couple clarifying things that I think we want to, again, this is
You have
not
to go
going to
up
be
there.
an emotional thing, we just want to state a few facts.
Yeah, just go to the mic.
Okay.
And then we should probably close it.
So, I was just gonna say, I think the first thing is, oh, wait,
Board's gonna discuss.
I'd say the first thing is understand Chuck's presentation. Again, we've said that's not our intent, but not sure how that impacts the decision that the board, this council has to make in terms of the vacation. We've said, you know, clearly here's our request. To me, that feels like an emotional response. Frankie and Chuck actually have 3 properties going from their house to Galahad. So again, I think you're hearing a piece of things that you want to hear. I would like to ask Frankie and Chuck if they've talked to any of the people on the petition, because you know, we consider them our friends, and we'd be happy to bring some of them to this meeting. But again, we don't want it to be emotional, we want it to be about facts. Not clear how that point of view really influences your decision when the precedence has been set many times where the village makes a decision and moves forward. But again, not our intent. Sorry, honey.
Just to reiterate, we cannot make a decision. We can only make a recommendation.
Correct. But you're gonna move forward with some sort of recommendation, and that's what we would ask.
Okay, so any other comments from? Okay, so why don't we close?
I think we're good.
Okay, then we're gonna close the discussion, and then
Okay, thank
how
you.
can we?
Then the board can discuss amongst themselves, or if they have individual questions,
You can ask
they
us
can
questions.
certainly ask that.
We can clarify.
But-
So we're off the record right now?
No, you're.
No, you're
on.
still on.
Thanks for
A
keeping me
good
straight.
try.
I have
We
a
can't.
question. You mentioned earlier, I'm not familiar with the beach, now I know where it is. Are there improvements going on there?
Yeah, you should have got an email from me that showed the improvements that are going on the beach.
No, I didn't get that, so,
I'll give you.
They're gonna redo the steps, the retaining wall, and that's about it.
okay.
And put some cameras in.
I hope they put a bathroom.
Oh my God, okay.
No bathroom.
No bathroom is on the list, I don't think.
I told them to get a bathroom.
Well, they should if kids are going there.
That was my recommendation, was to get a bathroom.
Well,
I guess I have a concern now.
Okay?
I wasn't aware of where the beach was relative to the land that's going to be vacated. Is my understanding it's at the end of Third Avenue on the western slope of it, correct?
correct.
It's not we're not vacating the end of Third Avenue, no.
I know that. But there seems to be an issue of parking. You're going to enhance that beach. And there's considerable amount of money that's going to be dedicated to that. I would suggest that perhaps the usage would in fact increase. And then we get back to the parking issue. And I'm concerned about that. And, you know, your suggestion about what possibly could be done with that vacated portion of park, maybe that should be used for parking.
Once again, I don't believe the intent of the dedication in 1920 was to create a parking lot. And you'd have to ask Paul if a parking lot would be an appropriate use of that, as I'm not an attorney, but that would be a.
Well, I don't think that's for us to decide anyway.
Right, I don't even think that should be part of it.
No,
The village board decides that that's what they want to do, and that's
That's-
the decision.
that-
I raised the issue, and I think it's one that should be raised and discussed, and if it goes to the board, I hope they would discuss it.
Okay.
Well, you know, part of your analysis has to be long-term usage of that area, I guess. And, you know, you've seen where other places have been vacated, and that decision at that time was that the village has no use for this right away in the future, and they elected to do that. And so,
So as I see it, you know, and the parking lot issue comes up, and I could see that kind of seems ridiculous in my mind in a way, but I understand it. Browns Beach is a very small beach. It only can hold so many people.
Correct.
And yeah, like 50 yards. It's
50 feet.
50 feet. Yeah, 50 feet. Yeah, it is small. It is quaint.
That's the way it
So
has to be.
really, the cars that can park there, that's pretty much what the beach can allow. Now, you know, bring up bathrooms, which is always smart in a way, but also, you know, what's this allocate more people? And I guess the only thing I have to say, and if I would suggest this going forward and for the board to think about, and why I would be in favor or not in favor, but it would be for me to suggest to the board, if they don't see if there's any reason for, if this is going to impede fire, safety, ambulance in the future. That's the only reason I could actually say that this wouldn't be vacated, is if somehow we wanted to make sure that you could get in on Third Avenue, go down Park, and drive out Second. If it were to come to a fire, safety, ambulance issue, yes, there would be parking on that side street then, and yes, it would be going through your properties. But that beach is so small, And I know that they're spending money on doing this, and I don't know if any of the improvements that they're talking about slightly widens it or whatever, but I don't believe so. But, I mean, I've been there, I've grown up in the area. I know that that beach can only handle so many people at a time, and that there is in and out traffic. But I mean, if it doesn't look like it, we don't need it in the future for fire or safety, then I really don't see why it couldn't happen. And then that would allow a lot of these other properties then to also put in their vote for the vacation on their land and open up their land to be the same as yours and be able to use it readily in whatever roads that may be made. That's my only input on this.
Well, I think that you raised the concern at the last meeting about fire and safety. And I think that got the attention of some people in the village from the last meeting about the safety of that road not going through.
And
Because of fire and ambulance and any other issues, that if something happens on that road, they can get in, but they can't get out.
right, it's very difficult.
And they made a valid argument that the street's never been plowed, that they have to manage that themselves, right? But I think it raised the awareness that some people, I don't believe, even knew there was a road there until this discussion started.
And this is why, as the planning commission, we make suggestions, we formulate the ideas, and then the board makes the final decision. But our job is to make sure that we're bringing up the avenues and the ideas to suggest this and how it could go through.
Could
and
this-
where it could end up.
Can I add something to that? And fire and safety is, I agree with it, but is it worth the bill, put $1.5 million in a street that goes nowhere for fire and safety when it's been serviced for 70 years? These houses have been on this thing? That's the question. It will never service any other new houses. No other house will ever be served off of this road. Our property, we can't service nothing off of that road. And you can't bore us with the money for it because that's an improvement that the village took on. It's not an existing street. I don't think you can assess it because it's not an existing street and you're assessing as something that was never there. So my thought is it'll never be a street because it'll be advantageous to, it will not be advantageous to put it in because it's cost prohibitive. And you can get to the 3 houses that actually on that by the fire hydrant at the end of 3rd Street down by Brown's, at their driveway. You can get to those homes. And this property is no different than the other ones that were vacated previously, that they vacated the street and nobody, the awareness of the fire and safety there. Actually, the situation around us is a lot better than the ones to the south because we do have a hydrant.
Gotta go up there and talk.
Yeah,
What do we do?
well, you can cut them off. Whenever
Okay,
you want to.
this is the last discussion, okay?
You talk about,
You didn't get to say your
you
question.
talk about the other vacations that have happened. None of them added 2 lots.
Right now.
We didn't add, they vacated the streets and they went away. This is adding 2 lots there. I was getting static last time. I withdrew it
That goes into here.
for my driveway, which would have been a 12-foot hole on the end there going into the woods. This will add 50 feet of asphalt. It'll get rid of all of the trees if the houses get built. Is there, at the last meeting, Pete was asked, is there something that they would be willing to grant, that they would leave the trees or some sort of covenant that would get us a way through this? And that's what I'm actually looking for, because the parking is going to get much worse with 2 houses there. You got a triple car garage and a double car garage, and you got tons of asphalt. So all of that parking goes away on that side of the street. And, but maybe there's something that we could do that would, make it not so bad.
Okay, thank you.
Still don't know what we're talking about these houses.
Well, it's a possibility to have houses put in there at some point. And whether that's a good thing for that small area that people use to park. So I understand his point of what he's saying. If you put houses on the other side, then people can't park there either. Now they can't park on the right side facing the river, if you can't park on the left side facing the river.
They actually can't park on the left side anyway.
I'd like to reiterate back to,
Side.
We're done.
are we done?
We're done.
I thank God.
Yep.
We're done.
So I guess what I would suggest, and what happens in other places, is just ask everyone to comment how they feel, or if they want to comment, or ask any questions, and
Okay.
then you can ask for someone to make a motion.
Okay. Any comments or feedback?
I think I've given my feedback and my thoughts on it, that I would propose to be heard by the board.
Okay.
Well, I would concur with the issues you've raised in terms of safety, but I would also like to suggest that the issue of parking, broadly speaking, for the beach, and also if there's going to be additional homes, what that means in terms of access to parking.
Okay. I look at it and say, okay, with the beach improvements, I'm not gonna lie, I never knew that beach was there until I went looking and found the sign.
That's how we like it.
Yeah, so what I don't understand, and I'd like to understand is from the beach people, the responsible for the retooling of the beach, is the impact it's gonna have on that road. Because, as a couple people mentioned, if, granted, the intent is not to sell it off as two lots, but, that can happen. And if that happens, you lose more parking. So that's my concern, so, go ahead.
I respect the point of Pete and Wendy, you know, on wanting to pick up the additional property. I think your intent is good for what you'd like to see done with it. I see it as a point for the village. Real estate, once it's gone forever. The flexibility in the future that might come up is done once it's transferred. It is, I think, the only access for beach for the entire village of North Hudson for water access is that point to the St. Croix River. Malibu, you know, there's nowhere to get there.
Wait, you half mile down, you got it.
Yeah.
800-foot beach.
Yeah.
We got ferries like.
Well, yeah, but it's really not a beach. It's got boats launching there. I mean,
That's the
it's,
best one. It has bathrooms, playgrounds.
Actually, a lot of people that
Okay.
go there.
Go ahead.
But you're right, they do have, it's not a safe place, for young kids, because it drops off so fast. When my kids were younger, they did open that up and put a diving thing in, but for any little kids, it went too quick. So they took that out. They do have a safety rope, but if anybody going there needs to know, there was just a kid that drowned the other day, not there, but because they didn't know what would happen. I know, because I used to swim there. And you're right about the boats coming and going. That's busy. So Browns Beach is just a flat, you can walk out, little ones can play there. So there's a difference in the beaches.
On the road leading to Browns, and I haven't been there for a while, so excuse me, but is it still just parking on the right-hand side and there's
Want
no
pictures?
parking on the left side, right?
yeah.
Yes,
Yeah, I took pictures of it.
Okay, so
About
it's
three
still
times.
just parking on this one side and,
you
no,
can't park on the other
You
one.
can't park.
Little spots up, the beach is full.
Yeah.
right.
And limited to certain hours too for the parking, isn't it?
Correct.
Yeah.
But I mean, 4 cars and the beach is full.
Go ahead.
I worry about what can happen when you two aren't in charge. If you put more houses in that little area, that's a lot. So that's,
All we ask is to be treated like everybody else. And we ask,
I have a right to say my comment
I
without you telling me. I agree you can have a right, but I'm not so sure that vacating that little stretch of that road is the right thing to do. So that's just me. Everybody else has a say.
Go ahead.
I think all my questions have been answered already.
Okay.
You can ask for someone to make a motion.
Someone make a motion? Motion with the
Yeah, it would be a motion recommending to move it to the board plus minus neutral.
Okay.
And
Excuse me, point of clarification, that the motion is originally brought to us was to vacate that portion of the street.
Yep.
Correct? That's what
the
we're voting
petition. Yep.
Right, so the motion we need is a recommendation of what we should make to the village board from this.
Yep, you
From
can
this group.
support it, you can not support it, or you can just pass it on with no recommendation at all.
Okay. Somebody make a motion?
I'll motion.
Okay.
What do I say? That we vote on passing this to the board?
Vote on what, recommendation, or to leave it the way it is, or to recommend not doing it?
Motion recommend doing it and passing this on to the board.
So your motion is to
Yes.
recommend to the board to approve the petition.
Approve the vacation of Park Ave.
Okay.
Anybody gonna second it?
I'll second it. I do believe that we make our recommendations, the board does their final decision.
Right.
I do see that with the improvements and what being said, with, what is their intent or not? But I do see that it has happened, but as long as the precaution is taken and the board does not see this as a viable reason or anything that's safety or harmful, that it is of no use anymore, and this road could be vacated back to the owners. So I'm for sending this to the board and in favor of it.
We have to vote on it, all right?
Yeah, you can just ask for any more discussion. If not,
Yeah.
take a vote.
Any other discussion? Okay, want to take a vote, yea, nay, or,
Yep.
all in favor, say yea?
Yay.
Okay,
Nay?
Nay.
Nay?
Nay.
That's good, we got 3 and 3.
Well, then the motion fails
Okay,
on a tie. And you can have another motion, or you can just assume you're gonna pass it on with no recommendation.
okay, so, anybody else want to make a different motion? You can do that, right?
Yep.
You can.
Any other, another motion? No motion. Okay, so we're gonna recommend, so we're gonna send it to the board, stating that, we're, for lack of a better term, neutral on it then, right?
Yeah, it'll just go to the board
Then the
without a
board can make the
recommendation.
decision as to what they wanna do,
Yep.
okay? Thank you. So, that barrier's been crossed now. Okay?
Yep.
So, make a motion to end the discussion, to end this.
Yeah, you just move on to the next agenda topic,
Okay.
because we don't have anything more to say here.
Okay, so the next agenda topic is routine business. Hopefully, you guys got an email from me 2 days after the meeting. Want to pass it down if you didn't get one?
I have it somewhere.
Or just pass it down.
Yeah, this is the
Oh,
one.
okay.
Okay.
You will.
So in the last meeting, we had talked about that garage situation with the ordinance about
Yep.
the garage. So I agreed to contact the building inspector and do some more research on that. So I contacted the building inspector. He gave me some wording, that Gene had a concern about, it being too tight, where you have to worry about pitches and things, and that's a legitimate concern from my perspective. So when I contacted the building inspector, he said that Hudson and Baldwin and a few other cities, they have theirs, where is it? Kind of found that the city of Hudson requirement, and they have more structures around the requirements without causing a source that Gene concerned about. And so, I'd like to recommend to the board that they adopt a similar one that just basically says, I apologize, I gotta put my cheaters on here. Oh. I apologize, I attached the wording from the, from the Hudson one. It basically just said it's gotta be similar material and similar in design. So that you can't put a steel wall garage up with a wood house, things of that nature. So, it was pretty open, but yet it stopped somebody from building a pole building, you know, in their driveway. So, that should have been attached to the email that I sent you, so I apologize, I forgot to print that off. So if you all want to take a look at that, and then, or I can resend it.
Yeah.
I can do that as well.
Then I would suggest you just put it on the agenda for next month's plan
Okay.
commission.
Can we do that?
And you can
Thank
have
you.
an action item for it.
Yeah. I'll get copies of it. Any other?
So just clarification,
Yeah, because so the question was, you know, it was really wide open, like, you had to build a garage. I think it had to be framed. I can't remember the exact wording that's in our ordinance, but it was really open to any kind of interpretation.
right?
So the wording from the surrounding communities is like you have to have similar materials. You know, so you don't put a steel roof on when you got a composition roof on your house. You don't put shingle siding on your garage, you know.
Well, and like I said, you know, the time before is that it should mirror the garage, the
Be similar.
offset to the garage should be similar or mirror the structure that it's abiding to.
Yeah, so you're not coming up with something
Okay.
that's totally off the wall.
So we're gonna clarify that.
Yeah.
and-
And I apologize, I should have printed that off and I forgot. So,
But it's good because it'll be a discussion point for next time.
yeah,
And it wasn't on the agenda, so we really can't do anything about it
yeah,
because the published agenda has already been published.
yeah, I didn't know any better.
Well, I just
So,
thought of that.
We've discussed it and it'll be untabled.
Yeah, and it'll be on the.
On the agenda for
agenda
next time.
week. And, I apologize, you're here.
Not to apologize.
Oh, you just came to watch?
Well, he was looking for an answer.
Oh,
Yeah,
you were the garage man.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
yeah. He was looking for an
sorry.
answer.
He's just a big fan.
Well, it didn't go unheard, okay?
Yeah, no, that's great.
We did research into your
Discussing it.
recommendation to try to tighten that up a little bit
Yeah.
without getting carried away.
Right. And I actually had brought that up to some of the neighbors, and I asked them, well, what do you think it should say? And I thought similar was the word. I thought your word mirror was really good, you know? But most of them said, no, it should be the same. You know, if you have a house that's got shingles on it, for example,
Yeah.
you build a detached garage, it should have shingles on it. If it's wood frame, you know, construction 2x4 every 16 inches on center, that's what they came up with. And
But if you
I'm-
wanna-
I'm game with similar just fine. It
Yeah.
just seems like that.
What if you want to put solar panels on your new garage instead of shingles?
Well, you'd have to put something around the solar panels. You don't, unless you
Well,
cover
like
the
just
whole
said, if
thing.
it's it has to be similar, but your house doesn't have solar panels and you want to incorporate solar panels, you wouldn't be able to do it in that wording.
I think if you left it open where
Yeah.
there was a problem and they could go to a variance
Well, it's just it,
for
right?
showing a
Yeah,
hardship.
Yeah,
With a
I think
variance.
that's a nice way to go
Yeah.
for somebody,
Yeah.
you know?
yeah, so I apologize, I didn't print that off, but, so we got it on the agenda for the next meeting, we can discuss it then. Is everybody good with that?
Yep.
That is perfect.
And-
Okay.
And also, I don't know if you heard or not, but at the last board meeting, the board voted to hire St. Croix County for the comp plan amendment process. So you guys are gonna have some work to do now in the next year.
Okay.
That task primarily falls on this body.
Possibly,
Okay.
yeah. Because
And
we went
what
through this once
resources were we
before. It
able
took
to
forever. We had so
look
many
at for
meetings.
that?
We had
So the county does a
come in and get-
good job of organizing,
It
they'll
took-
put out
yeah.
surveys to the community,
yeah,
they'll have
surveys,
listening
and we had to
sessions,
do the
usually
surveys.
inviting the community to come in, and then you will go through essentially chapter by chapter of the comp plan that's there now. And my experience with them before is that they will update all the population figures, the economic figures from the last census that they have, and they'll have all that information. And, you know, they're not gonna take the thing and gut it and start from scratch. They're gonna take what's there and look at what's happened in the past and project that out, and make some changes. Some sections are gonna be easy, some are gonna be harder.
But since all the framework is there, it won't be like the original time of coming off with nothing.
No,
At least we're gonna have the framework to go through, and we're really gonna kind of go line from line instead of
yeah.
trying to build
And,
something new.
and that's why, you know, usually do it by maybe one chapter or two chapters. It just depends on which ones they are. And they'll provide a draft, and then, you know, you read it, and if you don't like this line or this, it's all that back and forth, and you incorporate the input from the citizens and what their vision is gonna be for the next 10, 15, 20 years. And talk about expansion, talk about parks, talk about bike paths, exactly, that sort of thing. And that's, you know, right now, there's pressure on all of that, so probably a good time to do that.
Good time.
Yep,
Okay.
so just be aware, if you wanna resign quick, you can do that.
Jean says it's a piece of cake from last time she did it.
I'm
You'll be real
close to
helpful
not
this
staying
time.
on the board. It took a lot of doing, a lot of extra meetings.
Yep, it's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work to accomplish that.
You'll be able to lead us through this time.
I don't need anyone, except my dog.
The county does a good job of helping you.
It might be
everybody
better
set
with
this
the
straight.
county. We had some help, but I don't know.
Need a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
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 Thanks.
Gotta go sell my car.
What do we do?